Hello, it's me, the Avatar Fanatic, and today I'm with Xavier from Everything Avatar, and we're gonna be talking about what would happen if Toph didn't learn metal bending. So say hello, my boy.
What's up? I'm Xavier from Everything Avatar. You guys should definitely go check out a shared channel I have with one of my friends. It's called Everything Avatar. We post only Avatar The Last Airbender related content on there. So, go ahead, check it out, subscribe, and definitely subscribe to my boy, the Avatar Fanatic, too.
Yeah, I'd suggest you subscribe to his channel. His channel will, of course, be in the description. He will have his own link there to his channel. I also suggest you subscribing to my channel as I am, Avatar Fanatic, as you will. Um, and I have a catalog of maybe 10 to 12 videos, something like that, that I suggest you guys checking out. And yeah, let's get on with the video.
All right, so the first topic we want to discuss is the circumstances that Toph learned how to metal bend.
Yeah, let's go. Come on, man.
So, so Toph ran away, right? She wanted to go help Aang, learn earth bending and all that since she's, such an amazing earth bender. She wants to run off and go help Aang. But her parents aren't for it. So Toph runs away and, starts goes on with the rest of the team Avatar to teach Aang what he needs to learn when it comes to earth bending. So a couple more episodes in, we come to find out that Toph's parents actually hired two people who one I believe was her earthbending teacher, and the other one was somebody who like orchestrated the whole underground earthbending tournament.
Yeah, I think it was the boulder. I'm not sure. It was definitely like basically a bounty put on her head to just bring her back.
Yeah,
One thing I want to mention is like I think it's crazy that like basically as good as Aang was in airbending, like at 12, like how he mastered it, Toph basically mastered her thing at 12 too, which I found kind of a coincidence I just thought of. But yeah, go on.
yeah, they're pretty. I'd say they're pretty like equivalent when it comes to just both of them being prodigies.
Yeah, I agree.
Her parents hire these two, basically what are bounty hunters to come capture her and bring her back because they're obviously upset that she ran away. So they end up capturing her, and she's in this metal box or cage, whatever you want to call it. So she's in this metal cage. It's on the back of a carriage. These guys are on ostrich horses or whatever it is, and they're just going along the path with her in the back of the box, and she's in the box, yelling things over to them. She ends up trying to trick them and telling them she has to pee. They're not for it. They don't want to let her out under any circumstance because you know she would mop the floor with both of
It's
these
basically a
guys
porta
and
potty
trash them.
in the
Yeah,
in
it's like this is a
the
porter potty shaped metal box that they're in.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's basically like an encapsulation of her. One thing that I wanted to add is like right before she got to metal bend, I think she always was able to do it, and she said that when she really 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 focused, she felt like a little bit of a, like, I don't know how to explain, like a tangle on her like shoulder wherever she had like this one bracelet or something like that, and like she always felt it like moving a little bit. So yeah.
So she actually, she becomes desperate. She wants to escape. She doesn't want to be dragged back to her parents. So she starts, really focusing on the metal and inside of it, on the metal that's surrounding her. And she starts, really, really focusing and just trying to bend this metal. And she ends up feeling, the earth that's unpurified still inside of the metal and is able to bend it and escape. So that's basically the backstory on how she learned metal bending. She makes like a giant hole inside of the cage. She jumps out, hides. They're looking back. They don't know what happened. One of the guys says, "Oh, it's a trick," which was really dumb because it couldn't possibly be a trick. There's a giant hole inside of the box.
Yeah.
And I forgot what happens after that. I think she might have restrained them afterward. I'm not sure.
Yeah. What I found interesting is like the guy literally like jinxed himself. Was like, no one has ever metal bended out of here. And it's like, uh, she, 3 seconds
Are you
later, she
sure
did
about
it. Are you sure about that? It was like 3 seconds later. Literally, it just goes to a straight cut, and she just metal bends out of there. It's like, what just happened?
man's
he
genius,
like,
bro?
yeah. Hmm. I also want to add a thing with Toph and her metal bending ability is when her parents are trying to get her, um I really think that was like the start of like something like historic, like that meant something big in like the the series, because if that never happened, you know she wouldn't have never learned metal bending. So this is like a good segue to like, what if she never learned metal bending? So many things, so many possible things would be changed from this, and I think it's very worthy to bring up.
Yeah, one of the biggest and the most obvious effects that this could have is that metal bending could never exist. She
Yeah,
very well could have been the only person who actually, considered that it might be possible to bend metal. So metal bending may have never existed, or at least never have been discovered.
yeah. I mean, there's so many things that like goes into it, especially things like the whole metal bending spectrum never existing, or her never teaching people in their schools about metal bending and expanding like the scope and the arc of the amount of metal benders around. So I think it's really remarkable that she learned it at like almost like a tipping point in the story, like a moment of truth, as you will.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, she actually goes on to have a metal bending school in the comics.
Yeah, I
So if
was
you
referring
guys
to the
haven't
comics. Yeah.
So if you guys haven't read any of the comics, you probably wouldn't know what we're talking about. But she does go on to have a metal bending school after the whole series is done, which it takes place directly after the series and continues the story. And she does go on to have a metal bending school where she teaches a couple of um a couple of earthbenders metal bending, and I'm sure she went on to teach plenty more later on.
I, I'm not sure which exact book it is. I've read the book, but it's a really good one because it shows like almost like an arc of the other characters in that like the metal bending school, which I found cool. So like I suggest you guys check the book out. Um,
Yeah, it was really good.
Another thing I wanna ask is what if someone else like learned water bending, metal bending? What other like possibilities like could that like open and like broaden the scope of happening? Like what other things could like result from that? Like could have other instances helped people either before someone like Kyoshi or something like Avatar Kyoshi, or could that have helped someone even after if Toph didn't learn metal bending, if that makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely I think a decent probability of someone else actually discovering earthbending. There's a lot of really good
Metal bending.
earthbenders who are also prodigies who definitely could have discovered metal bending. And obviously in the real show, a lot of these earthbenders could metal bend really well. Even you know her daughters could be a
Yeah,
possibility. She has two daughters. One is Suyin Beifong, who is the leader of Zhaofu, and then you have Lin Beifong, who is chief of police in Republic City.
yeah. I
Both of
mean,
them metal benders, both of them amazing metal benders. So I say there'd be a decent probability that they could have discovered it if she didn't.
yeah, it could have been maybe like Suyin's like sons or some random person from the street. But there's so many things like if no one learned metal bending, Zhaofu wouldn't exist because it's an all metal city. Or you know someone like Lin Beifong would have never gotten really her powers taken away by someone like Amon, because she wouldn't have been seen as a significant enough threat to where Korra had to bring back her powers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
And
all
another
ties in, which I like.
and another thing is it really could have been anybody. It doesn't even have to be a significant character. Of course, somebody like Boomy, you know, Earthbending prodigy, maybe could have discovered it. But at the same time, I see it as unlikely because he was already in old age. You know, I'm not sure if he'd still be exploring the elements to that extent at that old age, especially after his mastery, which is, you know, he's an incredibly good Earthbender. But at the end of the day, I don't think that it's very likely he would have discovered metal bending if somebody else did besides Toph. But for all we know, it could have been, you know, Cabbage Man's brother who could easily have discovered it.
Oh
Cabbage
god.
Man's brother, come on.
It has to be Cabbage Man's brother, man. I mean,
Had to be. Had to
I mean,
be.
he has to be better than Toph. There's no way. There's no way. Cabbage Man would have went at Toph just for
He's not
revenge.
stepping to
He's
him.
like, my cabbages, and then like his brother's like, my brother's cabbages, and he's like, whoosh, and he
He
just
just starts
metal.
destroying Toph completely. Just obliterating her with his amazing metal bending.
She just blows him out the water, and it's like Toph, how like she basically destroyed everyone at the tournaments, but he just destroys her instead. So it's like how the turntables, pretty much. Uh, okay, one thing I also want to ask your insight on, because I don't exactly like know this. What do you think would have happened like if Toph got captured by the two people who were like, bringing in with the ostrich horses or whatever animal. I don't remember. Like I haven't watched the episode in quite a bit. But what do you think would have happened? Like, do you think that can open the probabilities to things like maybe Aang losing versus Ozai because he didn't get taught by Toph enough to beat him in some sort of way? Because that final battle had a lot of earthbending in it.
Yeah. Um, I definitely think it could have had an impact on Aang's arc in general, or maybe even the arc of the entire show. You know, it's her not learning earthbending. It may not seem that significant in the grand scheme of things, but it definitely is. It made a huge impact, and if she didn't learn metal bending, you know, she would have been captured, and you know, that would result in her never teaching Aang, or at least, you know, never teaching Aang to the extent that she did, you know, earthbending. And Aang did use a lot of earthbending in his fight against Ozai. So, you know, maybe if he didn't have Toph as a teacher, he
Yeah.
might have lost. He might have lost that fight to
One
Ozai because, you
thing.
know,
One thing I want
he
to add.
primarily used earthbending as a defense.
Yeah. One thing I want to add is if Toph got captured, would that have like opened up like another character in the series to like, actually be Aang's teacher? Would that have opened up another crazy cool arc? But we never would have seen it from Toph. You know,
Yeah.
like I think it could have opened up a cool arc for someone else, but we never would have had the character we love as in Toph. So
Yeah, and we don't know if that person could have discovered metal bending.
yeah, they absolutely could have too. Absolutely could have. They could have just been like Cabbage Man's brother, basically coming to Aang pleading for forgiveness, so they don't take his cabbages down again. And then like he just happens to be an earthbender, and he learns metal bending and all this other stuff. That could like really increase the capability of like so many other like scope of margins of outcomes.
Sounds plausible.
Yeah, sounds plausible, buddy. Nice. All right.
And I think this is a good time to actually, you know, segue off to our next point in this video, which would be the effects of metal bending never existing.
Hmm. Well, I think the possible effects is like I think I touched on this a little bit. Is stuff like Zhao Fu would never exist. The schools would never exist. Um,
You're gonna trigger the people in the comments. Zaufu.
Zhao Fu. Okay, misenunciation. I'm sorry. Zhao Fu. There you go. Comments. Um, Zhao Fu never existing. The schools never existing. Other people never getting taught metal bending. Um, like a whole broad scope of things like
Maybe
Kuvira.
Kuvira wouldn't have never came into power.
Kuvira never would have came into power. Maybe Kuvira never would have had like the armor protection that she had, unless it was manufactured. But you know how like she had like the thing with her armor and like how she like used metal bending almost to
Yeah.
yeah, like she never would have had that. But like she metal bends really weird because like she like almost like magnetizes everything, which is interesting. But I feel like it's a really like broad scope of things, like where the whole Avatar world would have been changed.
And you'd especially see those effects in Korra. You know, Korra would be completely different. Even the police department in Republic City would operate completely differently because you know they primarily use metal benders, with
Another
the
thing I want to
exception of
add.
somebody like Mako who is a firebender.
Another thing I want to add. Things like maybe like technology wouldn't have advanced as much because the beginning of technological advancements is like manufacturing, mass manufacturing, and the way metal bending came around, it opened the door for mass manufacturing of stronger structures, a better looking city, a
Yeah,
better habitat, and I think that
Zhaofu is absolutely a great example of that.
yeah, and even Republic City, a lot of the places there, and I mean I'm sure like even like the water tribes, southern and northern, or even the Fire Nations have had metal benders come to their estates and help them with some form of structural stuff. I mean, I'm sure that's a big business in like the Earth Kingdom world.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see that being a huge business. You know, all the construction workers are metal benders, which would be really beneficial financially to the Earth, to the Earth Kingdom. They could go around doing, work for the other nations.
It's very comparable with like you know like Zahir with his flight, and it was like such a thing where it was like I don't think the situations were comparable, but the polarization, the amount of change like that, like a snap of a finger, like
Yeah,
Thanos,
it's
that happened in
revolutionary.
this that happened in the series was so massive. It was so massive, and I think you had that in Korra and you had that in ATLA like once or twice in the entire series, and I think that was like I think maybe Aang when he like outwilled Ozai at the end, like like they were like battling
Yeah.
with yeah, like that was like the top thing, and Toph like learning metal bending, whether it was like as dramatized or not, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
M- They were both definitely equally as significant because both things were basically a concept that was probably thought about a decent amount, but nobody actually considered to be possible.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so I think this is a great time to like end off the video. So this has been me, the Avatar Fanatic. We've been talking about Toph, and if metal bending didn't exist, check out my boy Everything Avatar. Subscribe to my channel, like the video, and we out.
Thanks for watching. Peace.
Peace.